Surviving a Narcissist, a step-by-step guide to healing from emotional abuse and toxic behaviors. Written by C.J. Brandon. Narrated by Araceli Gote. Introduction. The narcissist is like a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much you put in, you can never fill it up. The phrase, "I never feel like I am enough," is the mantra of a person in a narcissistic relationship. That's because, to your narcissistic partner, you are not. No one is. Nothing is. Ramani Durvasula. Welcome to Surviving a Narcissist. I'm truly delighted that you've chosen to embark on this journey with me. Within the pages of this book, we will explore a profound and deeply personal subject that touches the lives of countless individuals around the world: narcissistic abuse. I have suffered from this type of emotionally abusive and toxic relationship. I can personally attest to the height and scope of this type of relationship and how it greatly weighs down every aspect of your life. I in no way claim to be an expert on this path. However, it is my heart to share with you what I've experienced and learned along this journey. It is not an easy one to maneuver, but with the right encouragement, knowledge, and sense of empowerment, you can not only survive this, but also thrive. Your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual boundaries are being pushed and tested past every capability you have just to get through each day, only to feel battered, bruised, exhausted, and drained. Yes, I have been there, done that, and have the t-shirt to prove it. The good news is that it does not have to stay this way. The status quo is no longer acceptable, and you can make it out of this relationship alive, strong, and thriving. If you allow yourself to really take this information in, let it resonate within your heart, and do the work it takes, you will not only survive this, but you will thrive from it. Now, it is time to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and allow your healing journey to begin. Don't worry, you are not alone. I will be here with you, along on the journey with you, and hoping to give you all that you need to see your story out to the end. Before we get to the heart of the matter, let me express my heartfelt empathy if you are here because you have experienced or are currently enduring the torment of a relationship with a narcissist. The pain, confusion, and emotional turmoil that narcissistic abuse inflicts can be absolutely devastating. It can leave you feeling shattered, isolated, and questioning your very sense of self. But I want you to know that you are not alone, and there is hope for healing and recovery. I have survived this, and my life has thrived since then, and so will you. In Surviving a Narcissist, we will navigate the treacherous waters of narcissistic abuse together. This book is more than just words on pages. It's a lifeline, a source of understanding, and a roadmap toward reclaiming your life. It's essential reading for survivors of narcissistic abuse because it provides insight, validation, and strategies to help you not only survive, but thrive once again. So, why is this book so vital if you've been or still are in a narcissistic relationship? My goal is to help guide you through one of the most confusing and emotional times of your life. Understanding narcissistic abuse. First and foremost, this book will help you grasp the intricacies of narcissistic abuse and how you on the receiving end of this type of abuse can recognize, deal with, and heal from such a tormented relationship. We will examine the mind of a narcissist and explore their manipulative tactics while dissecting the cycle of abuse that you are being subject to. Remember that knowledge is power, and by understanding the dynamics at play, you'll be better equipped to recognize and confront the abuse head-on. Validation of your experience. One of the most insidious aspects of narcissistic abuse is the feeling of isolation it induces. Survivors often doubt themselves, wondering if they're overreacting or imagining things. Surviving a Narcissist offers validation and reassures you that what you are experiencing is real and that your feelings are valid. You are not the problem. Preventing future abuse. It is important to understand narcissistic traits and red flags so that you can avoid falling into similar traps in the future. Unfortunately, many survivors of narcissistic abuse tend to enter into relationships with the same types of people over and over again. This book serves to help you recognize toxic relationships, protect yourself from harm, and prevent the cycle from continuing once you have freed yourself from such a relationship. You are breaking the perpetual cycle of abuse for your entire future, not just to get out of the current relationship you might be in. This healing is the journey to a beautiful destination, a healthy, happy, thriving you. Healing and recovery. I know that sometimes you may feel that you may never recover from the trauma of a narcissistic relationship, but I can assure you that recovery is possible. And this book is your guide through the process. We'll explore strategies for healing the emotional wounds inflicted by the narcissist, and by doing this, you will have the power to learn how to rebuild your self-esteem, set healthy boundaries, and regain control over your life. You will be taking the narrative of your life back. Empowerment. It is not just about surviving. It's about reclaiming your power and your life. In this content, you'll learn that it is possible to break free from the narcissist's grip, regain your autonomy, and establish a life filled with meaning, joy, fun, and fulfillment. After all, we only live one life. Hope. Perhaps the most crucial element of this book is the message of hope. What is life without hope? Hope is a reminder that recovery is possible and that life can be beautiful and normal again. You have the power to emerge from this ordeal stronger and wiser than you ever thought possible. As I embark on this journey with you, I want you to know that I understand the pain you're going through. I am a survivor. I've witnessed the resilience of survivors, and I've seen the incredible transformations that can occur when you commit to healing. It won't be easy, and there may be moments when you feel like giving up, but remember that you have the strength within you to overcome this. So, let's take this journey together and equip you with the knowledge, tools, and support you need to not only survive, but thrive after narcissistic abuse. The path to healing may be challenging, but it's a path worth walking. Never forget that you are worth the effort, you are worthy, and you deserve a life filled with peace, love, and happiness. Thank you for entrusting me with your journey to recovery. I am honored to be your guide, your confidant, and your source of hope. With love, CJ. Part 1. Understanding Narcissism. Chapter 1. What is narcissism? When it comes to human psychology, narcissism stands as a complex and often misunderstood word. Did you know that the term narcissism was founded in Greek mythology and tells a story of Narcissus, a young and handsome hunter who fell in love with his own reflection in a pool of water and was unable to tear himself away from the captivating image? Since then, the study of narcissism has evolved into a fascinating journey throughout the study of psychology, attracting the attention of scholars, clinicians, and the general public alike. Essentially, understanding narcissism is not merely a quest to define a personality trait, but rather a look at the intricate interplay between the individual and society, the self and others, and the healthy and pathological aspects of the human ego. So, what exactly is narcissism? Quite simply, narcissism, in its essence, involves an excessive preoccupation with oneself, an inflated sense of self-importance, and a pronounced need for admiration and validation from others. Unfortunately, these characteristics are often accompanied by a lack of empathy while exploiting other people for personal gain. If you are in a narcissistic relationship, you may have already experienced these traits firsthand. Narcissism exists on a spectrum ranging from healthy and adaptive traits to extreme and maladaptive forms. Psychologists often differentiate between two primary categories: grandiose narcissism and vulnerable narcissism. Grandiose narcissism is characterized by a sense of entitlement, a desire for power and dominance, and a superficial charm that can mask arrogance and manipulatives. In contrast, vulnerable narcissism is marked by fragile self-esteem, hypersensitivity to criticism, and a pervasive sense of victimization. Narcissists can also exhibit both grandiose and vulnerable traits, and this is referred to as covert narcissist or mixed-type narcissist. Remember that narcissism exists on a spectrum, and individuals may display a combination of characteristics from various narcissistic subtypes. However, it is important to understand that narcissism is a complex personality trait, and some individuals may display a combination of traits from both subtypes. These individuals may exhibit grandiosity in some situations, while displaying vulnerability or insecurity in others. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-5, is an authoritative guide used by mental health professionals and recognizes narcissistic personality disorder as a clinical diagnosis. This disorder is characterized by a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy that begins in early adulthood and presents itself in various contexts, especially when it comes to relationships. However, not all individuals exhibiting narcissistic traits meet the criteria for NPD. This highlights the importance of understanding narcissism as a broader personality trait. Clinical definitions of narcissism. Narcissism carries a range of informal definitions and connotations in our everyday lives, and it seems to be one of those words that everyone understands on some level. Yet, the meaning of narcissism can be as fluid as the situations in which it's used. Additionally, when it comes to conversations about relationships, we often hear many informal definitions of narcissism. These definitions are used to capture how this trait manifests in a narcissist's interactions with others. Let's touch on these informal definitions and gain some insight into narcissism within the context of a relationship. You may find that these definitions accurately capture the way in which narcissistic traits can impact a relationship. The narcissist in these relationships will often demonstrate self-centeredness and a constant need for validation, which can lead to a roller coaster of emotions for those on the receiving end. Understanding the informal definitions of narcissism in relationships can be a valuable tool for both partners. It promotes self-awareness and empathy and allows individuals to navigate the challenges that any narcissistic traits may pose in a relationship. The point that I am trying to make is that being in a relationship is already a complex journey that can be filled with ups and downs, but when narcissism enters the equation, it introduces its own unique challenges. Relationships marked by narcissism can be extremely hard and traumatic, but at the end of the day, they empower the survivor to seek new opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and the development of healthier dynamics. This book has been written to aim more towards the informal definition of a narcissist as, according to research data, between 0.5 and 5% of people in the U.S. have this disorder. However, many people remain undiagnosed by trying to hide their narcissistic beliefs or behaviors. I am writing about the common symptoms of this disorder and the devastating havoc that it can cause to those who are on the receiving end of this abuse and toxicity. The word narcissist is often used to describe someone who appears excessively self-absorbed or self-centered. But what does it really mean from a clinical standpoint? Let's take a look at the clinical definition of narcissism. Clinically speaking, narcissism refers to a personality trait or a set of traits that are characterized by an excessive preoccupation with oneself. It's not just about liking yourself or having some healthy self-esteem. It's when that self-regard goes into overdrive. If you are in a relationship with someone, be it a partner, family member, or a friend who exhibits these characteristics, you are more than likely dealing with a narcissist. A person with narcissism has an inflated sense of self-importance. Picture someone who believes they are superior, unique, or deserving of special treatment without necessarily having the achievements to back it up. It's like they have a mental highlight reel of their own life, and they want the world and the people closest to them to watch it on repeat. Now, it's important to note that narcissism is different from healthy self-esteem or self-confidence. We all need a bit of self-belief to navigate life's challenges and become confident individuals. It, however, becomes problematic when these traits are taken to the extreme and interfere with a person's ability to form meaningful relationships or function effectively in society. Some people think that narcissism is all about vanity, but in fact, it is a complex personality trait that consists of several behaviors and attitudes. These behaviors range from an inflated sense of self-importance to a constant craving for admiration. The reason why it's important for you to understand the clinical definition of narcissism is so that you can recognize when these traits become problematic and interfere with a person's ability to form healthy relationships or function effectively in society. With that being said, It should not be about labeling or stigmatizing individuals, but rather about raising awareness for those individuals who feel that they may be in a relationship with a narcissist. There are several studies that have suggested that narcissism may be hereditary. Twin studies, for example, have indicated that narcissistic traits may be moderately heritable. However, in truth, the genetic contribution of narcissism is normally set off by interacting with other factors in shaping narcissistic tendencies. Early childhood experiences and parenting styles can also play a crucial role in the development of narcissism, with some researchers even proposing that overly indulgent parenting, characterized by excessive praise and a lack of boundaries, can foster narcissistic traits in children. On the other hand, neglectful or abusive parenting may also contribute to the development of narcissism as a defense mechanism against low self-esteem. This book has not been written to try to help a narcissist. It has been written with the intent of helping those who have fallen into the hands of a narcissistic relationship and are battling to cope with the emotional abuse and toxic behaviors that come along within this relationship. It is, however, important for those in narcissistic relationships or survivors of narcissistic relationships to have some idea of narcissism as a whole and how it has been engraved into society. With that being said, let's discuss the socio-cultural context in which an individual grows up. Some societies place positive reinforcement on individuals who show individualism, competitiveness, and material success. In cases such as these, narcissistic traits may be more likely to flourish. Additionally, the rise of social media and the culture of self-promotion in the digital age has further complicated the world of narcissism, providing a fertile ground for narcissistic tendencies to manifest and thrive. The cultural and socio-cultural perception of narcissism. Narcissism has not only evolved as a psychological concept, but has also manifested in different forms throughout history. While the term narcissism itself is relatively modern, the behaviors and characteristics associated with it can be traced back to ancient civilizations. Let's take a trip back in time to shed some more light on the subject of narcissism. In ancient Greece, the myth of Narcissus served as a cautionary tale, warning people against excessive self-love and vanity. What this means is that the Greeks understood the destructive power of narcissism, with this mythological story laying the foundation for the concept of narcissism as a personality trait. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, narcissism gained some more attention when Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, introduced the concept of primary narcissism, which referred to the natural self-love and self-investment present in infants. These ideas started a deeper exploration of narcissism, and throughout the 20th century, studies on narcissism continued to evolve. Psychologists expanded on Freud's work, developing theories of narcissistic personality disorders and providing valuable insights into the clinical manifestations of narcissism and its underlying dynamics. The late 20th and early 21st centuries brought with them a surge in interest in narcissism. This was driven by, you guessed it, the rise of social media and the so-called selfie culture. With the invention of digital platforms, self-promotion, and the cultivation of online personas, narcissistic behaviors found new ways in which to express themselves. The word narcissist has become a sort of catch-all term to describe people who seem excessively self-absorbed or obsessed with themselves. But have you ever wondered how our culture's perception of narcissism has evolved and what it means in today's world? Let's talk a bit about social media. Social media has many pros, such as connecting us with friends and allowing us to share our lives with friends all over the world. They also offer a platform for self-expression, which in itself is not a bad thing. But, on the other hand, social media can also turn into a breeding ground for comparison and envy. Have you ever noticed that as you scroll down the news feeds on Facebook, everyone seems to have their life together? In turn, this makes us compare our own messy and imperfect lives to those of the staged snapshots of others. Unfortunately, it is in this type of environment that the cultural perception of narcissism becomes entangled with the constant pursuit of validation through likes, comments, and followers. The cultural perception of narcissism has become so intertwined with our digital lives that we are living in the time of selfies and Facebook updates. Take, for example, Instagram influencers and their carefully curated online personas. We are currently living in a selfie generation where self-promotion and self-admiration reign supreme. Now, Don't get me wrong, there's nothing narcissistic about snapping a selfie or sharing your life on social media. After all, it's fun to capture memories and connect with friends and family. The problem begins when these behaviors slide into a pattern of relentless self-promotion and a desperate need for validation. This is when we start raising eyebrows and throwing around the narcissist label. Have you ever noticed how so many people are fascinated by celebrities and their daily lives? It's like we can't get enough of their glamorous photos, extravagant lifestyles, and juicy scandals. It can be argued that our obsession with celebrities is a reflection of our cultural fascination with narcissism. The reason for this is that celebrities often seem to embody a certain level of narcissism with their larger-than-life personas and entourage of admirers. But here's the thing, we are the ones who have put them on those pedestals. We adore them when they're shining, and we relish their downfalls when they stumble. It's almost as if we're drawn to the narcissistic tendencies they exhibit. Another way in which to explore our cultural perception of narcissism is through reality television shows. If you watch any of these reality shows, you are going to see contestants who will stop at nothing to win. These television stars thrive on attention and aren't afraid to stir the pot for a moment in the spotlight. Think about it, the drama, the confrontations, and the hunger for fame. It's a recipe for what some might call narcissism on display. Reality TV thrives in this cultural fascination with extreme personalities, and we as human beings can't seem to look away. There's a term called the me generation, which is used to describe millennials and Gen Z. This term has been used to imply that these generations are excessively self-centered and narcissistic. In reality, these generations have grown up in a time of rapid technological growth and change, as well as economic uncertainty and a shifting social landscape. These generations have had to adapt to new norms and live in a world that sometimes feels disconnected and isolating. So, is it narcissism or simply a response to the challenges they faced? Everyday examples of narcissistic behavior. Relationships can be beautiful, but they can also be extremely challenging, especially when narcissistic behavior rears its ugly head. It is important to note that while not all behaviors indicate narcissism, having an understanding of everyday examples of narcissistic behavior in relationships can help us to identify if we are in a narcissistic relationship. Here are some everyday scenarios to shed light on the subtle and not so subtle signs of narcissism within the context of relationships. You may even feel like you can relate to some of these behaviors when it comes to your own interactions with friends, partners, or relatives. The one-sided conversation. You're sitting across from your partner, excited to share something that happened during your day. As you start speaking, you notice their eyes glazing over and their attention drifting elsewhere. They may even interrupt you with their own story, completely disregarding what you are saying. This is typical of a one-sided conversation and is a common example of narcissistic behavior. In essence, your partner reflects a lack of interest in your experiences, coupled with a desire to keep the focus only on themselves. It is a fact that one-sided conversations with narcissists often exemplify the emotional toll it takes on the person who is sitting at the receiving end. While the narcissist happily talks about themselves and their needs without showing any interest in your life or feelings, you may begin to feel invisible, unimportant, and undervalued, as if your thoughts and emotions don't matter. You will find that your partner may even try to twist facts and manipulate the truth during conversations, making it easy for you to doubt your own reality and feel confused and powerless. Deep down, this causes a sense of frustration and invalidation, especially when your opinions and feelings are met with condescension or outright dismissal. The emotional roller coaster. Emotionally volatile are the words that quite aptly describe the behavior of a narcissist when they are in a relationship. One moment, your partner is showering you with love and affection, and the next moment, they are acting distant and aloof. How do you keep up with this behavior? It is a fast and furious emotional roller coaster that will leave you feeling anxious and bewildered most of the time. Even worse, how do you know which version of your partner is going to show up at any given time? When you look back at the beginning of your relationship with this person, you were showered with loads of attention and compliments and love. This made the beginning stage of your relationship euphoric and led you to feeling that love and feeling valued by this new person in your life. This stage of the relationship is often short-lived because as it progresses, the narcissist's behavior starts to change, making them critical, belittling, and emotionally distant. The love and value you once felt has disappeared. As a victim of this kind of behavior, you are going to feel many emotions such as self-doubt, frustration, sadness, anger, anxiety, and even depression while you wonder what you did wrong to cause this change in your partner. Sometimes, a narcissist may even abruptly end the relationship, which can lead you to harbor feelings of abandonment, heartbreak, and despair. A few days later, however, they may attempt to reel you back in with false promises, apologies, or manipulation, thus repeating the cycle over and over again and again. The unhealthy jealousy. Jealousy is a common human emotion, but narcissistic jealousy takes this emotion to another level. You are probably in a relationship with a narcissist if they start to become unreasonably jealous of you having any interactions with friends, coworkers, or even family members. A narcissist will always accuse you of flirting or being interested in other people, even if you have done nothing to warrant their claims. It is a fact that this jealousy is often rooted in their need for constant validation, as well as the fear of losing your attention. Unhealthy jealousy in a narcissistic relationship is a particularly toxic and challenging to cope with, as a narcissist will often use manipulation tactics to keep you emotionally entangled. They may even use triangulation, which involves a third person to provoke jealousy in their partner by flirting with them to make you feel like you need to compete for their attention. If this doesn't work, a narcissist will often accuse you of being jealous without any valid reason, making you doubt your feelings and perceptions. Thereafter, they will withdraw their affection or attention as punishment for your perceived jealousy. The gaslighting game. Gaslighting is a form of emotional manipulation where your partner makes you doubt your memory and any form of actual reality. They might deny saying hurtful things, change the facts, or insist that your feelings are irrational. They do this solely for the purpose of turning the conversation from them and flipping it to you. Gaslighting is an extremely common example of emotional abuse and toxic behavior that will leave you questioning your sanity. The gaslighter denies facts, events, or conversations that they previously acknowledge and will even contradict themselves, insisting that they never said or did something even when there is clear evidence to the contrary. Another tactic that they may use is to withhold information or give vague answers, leaving you feeling uncertain and confused. This is because by doing this, they can say the "did not lie," rationalizing that omitting the truth is okay. Gaslighting is one of the most manipulative tactics that can be employed by your partner to make you doubt your sanity. Think of it as a form of psychological torture where the gaslighter tries to make you question your feelings and actual reality. The blame game. Narcissistic partners will always shift the blame away from themselves and onto you. No matter what the issue is at hand, they will find a way to make it your fault. You will even end up apologizing for things you didn't do or feeling responsible for their irrational behavior. This blame game continues to erode your self-esteem and will keep you walking on eggshells throughout the life of your relationship. Your partner will make use of the blame game tactic to avoid acknowledging their role in a situation or their own mistakes. Instead, they focus on finding someone or something else to blame and deflect accountability for their actions by pointing fingers at others. The blame game is used as a manipulation tactic to shift the focus away from the person responsible and onto someone or something else, allowing your partner to escape any scrutiny or consequences. The silent treatment. The silent treatment is a powerful tool that a narcissist will use when they don't get their way. They will withdraw all of their communication and affection by ignoring your calls, text, and pleas for connection. They aim to make you feel isolated, anxious, and depressed so that they can regain control and make you feel like you're the one who needs to make amends. This treatment can vary in duration, from a few hours to several days or even longer, depending on the severity of the situation and the intent of the person giving you the silent treatment. Think of the silent treatment as a type of passive-aggressive behavior where an individual deliberately ignores, withholds communication, or gives minimal responses to another person as a way of expressing disapproval, frustration, or anger. It is a deliberate choice by the narcissist to gain back their power in the relationship. The endless need for validation. While everyone appreciates compliments, their behavior involves an insatiable need and desire for approval. It is as if their self-esteem depends entirely on their partner's admiration. This overwhelming desire manifests differently in narcissists, making their need for validation typically excessive, self-centered, and manipulative. Narcissists crave constant attention and admiration from their partners and the rest of the world, and in most cases, need their partner's undivided focus to feel special and valued. The reason for this is that narcissists have an inflated sense of self-importance that feeds on constant validation of their perceived superiority. Does this make sense? They may even compare their partners to others to try to make their partner jealous or feel inadequate as a way to seek a way to show their partner how desirable they are. The competitive spirit. To a narcissist, a relationship is approached as a type of competition in which they aim to be the smarter, better looking, and more successful than their partner. They drive on a constant need to one-up you to fuel their competitive nature. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you will feel like you are in a never-ending contest instead of a supportive partnership. While competition is a natural aspect of life, in the case of narcissism, it becomes excessive, often at the expense of healthy relationships and personal well-being. It's essential to recognize that the competitive spirit of a narcissist is driven by deep-seated insecurities and a fragile sense of self. The financial control. Money can be one of the most significant battles in a narcissistic relationship. If you are in such a relationship, you will find that your partner may insist on controlling all the financial decisions of the household and even limit your access to any monetary resources. It is important to realize that this control extends beyond practicality and is often about asserting dominance and ensuring dependency. This is known as financial control and is a common tactic used by narcissists to maintain power and manipulation within relationships. They will make use of several strategies to try and control their partner's finances, such as closely monitoring their partner's spending and even imposing limits on spending. If this does not work, then they will use guilt or criticism to control their partner's financial choices or seize control of shared bank accounts or credit cards and stop their partner's ability to independently access the money. This type of behavior can become so severe that the narcissist will try to interfere in their partner's career or other income sources by creating obstacles to prevent them from earning enough income to support themselves. In extreme cases, financial control can escalate into financial abuse, where the narcissist uses economical means to maintain power and control. This can include stealing money, coercing their partner into signing financial agreements, or even threatening financial ruin. The manipulative charm. Narcissists are incredibly charming and charismatic when it suits their purposes. They know how to turn on the charm to get what they want, whether it's winning you over, convincing you of their innocence, or gaining your sympathy and support. This manipulative charm will make it challenging to see through their behavior and set boundaries. The charm that is displayed by a narcissist is a facade designed to serve their own needs and desires. Yet, as the relationship progresses, the mask will begin to fade, and you will begin to see their true self-centered and manipulative nature. This facade is sometimes so hard to recognize that your friends and family will probably think that your partner is the best thing since sliced bread. They can't see through the facade because they don't spend enough time around them. It is very easy for them to hide their toxic behaviors from those that don't have to spend excessive time with them. The boundary buster. Narcissistic partners will have little or no regard for your personal boundaries and may invade your privacy by snooping through your belongings or even demanding access to your personal information. This will make you feel violated and powerless, as their overwhelming need for control will extend far into your personal space. The reason why a narcissist has a hard time respecting boundaries in their relationships is because they prioritize their own needs and agendas over those of others. This disrespect of your boundaries will be an emotionally draining and toxic experience when dealing with the person that you love. Most often, narcissists will go so far as to disregard your physical boundaries and invade your personal space by touching you without consent. The same goes for their invasion of your emotional boundaries, as they pry into your thoughts and feelings with no regard for your emotional well-being. If your partner is checking your phone, emails, or social media accounts without your permission, they are more than likely trying to isolate you from your friends and family so that they have greater control over your life. Although they will make you feel as if you did something to warrant this behavior from them, this is typical narcissistic behavior, and their main agenda is to limit the influence of others who may advise you to assert your boundaries. The intermittent love bomber. As the saying goes, a new broom always sweeps clean, and so do narcissists in the early stages of any relationship. They will shower you with love and attention to make you feel like you are the most important person in their life. However, this intense affection is often followed by periods of emotional withdrawal and a withdrawal of physical intimacy, creating confusion and emotional instability. This love bombing can become emotionally exhausting and damaging to your self-esteem if you are on the receiving end of it. But why do they do this? They do this because it keeps their targets emotionally invested in the hope that they will be able to capture the initial euphoria of the relationship, as it was when it first started. It is critical to remember that love should be respectful, consistent, and supportive, and that your emotional well-being should be a top priority in any relationship. Love bombing is a manipulation tactic used to maintain control and keep their targets emotionally entangled. The unhealthy need for envy. Narcissists like to believe that everyone is envious of them and what they have, and this includes you as their partner. In front of people, they will shower you with love and leave friends and family thinking that they have the perfect relationship. However, behind closed doors, they will project their envy onto you and accuse you of jealousy if you try to express your own needs and desires. This unhealthy need for envy will spark toxic relationships, emotional manipulation, and the erosion of trust and connection with others. The never-ending drama. If you ever wanted to feel like you were in a soap opera, your wish will come true if you enter into a narcissistic relationship. These relationships are filled with drama, and your partner will thrive on all the conflict and emotional turmoil, so much that they will turn even minor disagreements into major crises. Imagine being in a relationship where every day feels like a roller coaster ride, and not in a fun way. It's what it's like with a narcissist. One moment, they're showering you with love and praise, making you feel like the most special person in the world. But just when you start to feel secure, the drama begins again. At the beginning of the relationship, your partner will idolize you and make you feel like you are their everything. But after a while, they will move into the devaluation phase. What this means is that they will start to criticize and belittle you just so they can tear you down in order to make themselves feel better. And just when you think that you can't take it anymore, they will switch back to the idolization phase. It is, indeed, a never-ending cycle, and you will never be certain where you stand with them. This is their way of keeping you hooked in their drama. Unfortunately, narcissists have a constant need for attention and admiration. It's like they can't get enough, so they do things to grab your attention, often in dramatic and attention-seeking ways. This may include picking fights or creating conflict for no valid reason. The me-first attitude. Perhaps the most defining example of narcissistic behavior is the me-first attitude. Your partner consistently prioritizes their needs, desires, and well-being above yours. They may expect you to cater to their every whim while disregarding your own needs. When you're in a relationship, you expect it to be a partnership, right? But with them, it is a one-person show. If you suggest otherwise, all hell will break loose. They're not very good at compromise either. It's usually their way or the highway. That give and take you hear about in relationships? Well, it's just take when you're dealing with a narcissist. They are takers and will drain you of every ounce of energy trying to make them and keep them happy. Communication can also be a real challenge as your partner will not listen to you or dismiss your concerns. In their minds, their opinions and feelings are the only one that matter. It's like talking to a brick wall. And forget about empathy. Understanding your feelings and needs, that's just not their strong suit. They're so wrapped up in themselves that they are completely unable to see things from your perspective. Their me-first attitude will leave you feeling neglected, unimportant, and like your needs don't matter. The sweep everything under the rug behavior. The classic sweep everything under the rug behavior is something you will encounter when dealing with a narcissist in a relationship, and it can be incredibly frustrating. It's a way for the narcissist to avoid taking responsibility or facing any consequences for their actions or words. Imagine that you have just had a big argument or disagreement with your partner, and you're upset. You're waiting for a conversation or some acknowledgement regarding what has happened. In the meantime, you slept in separate bedrooms while you cried your eyes out, and they happily went to sleep. In the morning, when you get up, they are in the kitchen humming a tune and making coffee. They hand you the coffee, talk a bit about what is happening in the daily news, and head off to work as if nothing has happened. This is typical sweep everything under the rug behavior, and it will be infuriating if you are the one on the receiving end of it. Fine line, where does it blur? Now, here's where things get a bit tricky. Sometimes, healthy self-esteem and narcissism can seem like they're dancing on a fine line. It's not always easy to tell them apart, especially in certain situations. For example, imagine you've achieved something significant, like getting a promotion at work. Healthy self-esteem would allow you to acknowledge your achievement without becoming overly boastful. You'd be proud of yourself, but you wouldn't demand constant praise from everyone around you. However, if you start expecting everyone to treat you like a superstar and become irritated when they don't, that's where narcissism might creep in. It's like healthy self-esteem taking a detour into self-absorption. Let's break it down with a few real-life scenarios. Scenario 1. Receiving constructive feedback at work. Imagine you're at work and your supervisor gives you some constructive feedback on a project. If you have healthy self-esteem, you will appreciate the opportunity to improve and see it as part of professional growth. You won't take it as a personal attack. But a person who leans towards narcissism might react defensively. They will often see the feedback as an assault on their ego and become upset or even angry, as if their self-esteem can't handle criticism without feeling wounded. Scenario 2. Handling a relationship conflict. In a relationship, disagreements are normal. With healthy self-esteem, you'd be able to listen to your partner's concerns, acknowledge your part in the issue, and work together to find a solution. You prioritize the relationship's well-being over your need to be right. However, in the world of narcissism, conflicts can easily turn into battles of ego, and instead of taking responsibility, a narcissist will blame their partner, refuse to admit any wrongdoing, and insist on their version of events. Their need to protect their self-image will take precedence over resolving the issue. Scenario 3. Dealing with a personal failure. Let's say you've experienced a personal failure, like not getting that job you wanted. If you have healthy self-esteem, you will see it as a setback, not a reflection of your entire worth. You can accept the failure, learn from it, and use it as motivation to improve. But for someone with narcissistic tendencies, failure is a tough pill to swallow. It challenges their idealized self-image, and they will deflect blame onto external factors or refuse to accept any responsibility. In the end, the distinction between healthy self-esteem and narcissism can be subtle. It's like walking a tightrope between self-assuredness and self-absorption. Are any of these scenarios starting to resonate with you? Does the person with whom you are in a relationship show any of these signs? If you are still unsure, in Chapter 2, we will discuss ways in which to identify a narcissist by taking a more in-depth look at the behaviors that they exhibit in relationships. Relationships with a narcissist are held in place by the hope of a someday better with little evidence to support it will ever arrive. Ramani Durvasula.